Oh, hey there, to Loyal Today All Day viewers. We see you, and we want to say thank you for spending Tuesday with us.
Yeah, it means a lot to us. And welcome to Today in 30. It's our bite-sized mix of the very best from all 4 hours of our show. I like to say we watch all 4 hours so you don't have to.
You don't have to. First up, we are going to hear from President Biden ahead of his face-to-face with Vladimir Putin, how he's preparing for that high-stakes summit, and the warning he's sending to his Russian counterpart before they meet.
Plus, it was a milestone morning here in 1A. The queen of 30 Rock, Tina Fey, stopped by in person. Like, really, she was here, our first in-studio guest in 455 days, and you don't want to miss the fun we had chatting about her great Peacock show, Girls Forever, and so much more.
You want to join that group?
I so want to be in that girl band.
And our friend Craig Melvin's new book is out. It's called Pops. It's a real personal story. And to celebrate its release, he got together with Alan Carson to talk about fatherhood and talk about their dads. It's a conversation you don't want to miss. So should we get it all started?
Let's go.
All right, it's time for
Today in 30.
We do begin with President Biden gearing up and preparing for his showdown with Vladimir Putin with one final day of meetings in Brussels. NBC's chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander is traveling with the president. Peter, good morning.
Hey, Hoda, good morning to you. President Biden today wrapping up his meetings with America's European allies, saying that those relationships are rock solid ahead of that high-stakes summit with Vladimir Putin tomorrow. And despite some criticism that the president is rewarding Putin by giving him this meeting, President Biden says that most of the allies he's met with here have thanked him for it. Also this morning, we're learning new details about where this summit will take place, a historic estate overlooking Switzerland's Lake Geneva.
Ahead of tomorrow's crucial summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, today President Biden's meeting with leaders of the European Union, tackling a series of thorny challenges facing its allies, from the coronavirus to trade disputes and new challenges posed by a rising China. But the president's biggest focus, that face-to-face with Putin.
If he chooses not to cooperate and acts in a way that he has in the past relative to cybersecurity and some other activities, then we will respond.
The White House says the president will confront Russia on its election interference in the U.S. and Europe, and the recent surge in ransomware attacks on the U.S. food and gas supply that the U.S. blames on Russian hackers. In NBC News' World Exclusive with Putin, he denied Russia was behind those attacks.
Mr. President, are you waging a cyber war against America?
Where is the evidence? Where is proof? It's becoming farcical.
The U.S. intelligence community has produced evidence of Russian hackers targeting the federal government and meddling in elections. And some Republicans argue President Biden is not being tough enough on Putin.
He's said a lot of things, but we haven't seen a lot of action. He's not going into this summit and this particular meeting with Putin from a position of strength.
Mr. Biden saying he's ready to confront Putin tomorrow.
He's bright, he's tough, and I have found that he is as they say when he used to play ball, a worthy adversary.
And we're learning more details this morning, Peter, on how the president is preparing for this meeting.
Yeah, Savannah, that's exactly right. I'm told days before departing the U.S. for Europe, President Biden huddled in the Roosevelt Room at the White House with about 10 experts on Russia from outside of the White House, including some who formerly worked for former President Trump. This lasted for 2 hours, this session, where they discussed a range of views, I'm told, about how to deal with Vladimir Putin from those who have interacted with him in the past. Remember, President Biden has only met with Putin once before. One person telling me of the president, he is not winging it. He's putting a lot of time and attention into this meeting. Savannah?
Peter Alexander, thank you.
Hey, guys, wait a second.
What?
Look outside.
You hear a horn out there?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What are we looking at?
People, that's a double-decker bus.
Yeah, they're always
look
out there.
on. Wait, I know, but
Is it
look
a tour
on top.
group?
Who is that?
It's not a group.
Hello, 1A.
It is Tina
I'm
Fey.
coming in. 1A is open. Tina,
We're open.
what a sight. Hello, Tina. What a sight for sore eyes.
Watch out for that traffic light.
Coming to see you.
We're waiting.
We are waiting for you.
No one is driving this bus.
Tina is our first guest in Studio 1A in 455 long days. You know, when we at the Today Show get excited about something, we go big.
We're going huge.
It makes sense. She's the queen of 30 Rock. It's
Tina,
perfect first guest.
Hello.
Tina, we've got a red carpet waiting for you.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait, Hoda.
All right,
I cannot wait.
Giddy up, get off that bus and come in here and hang out with us. Studio 1A.
Okay.
Come down the red carpet, Tina.
Let's go, Tina.
Yes.
Just whatever you like.
Stretch it out. It's your
Can we
moment.
do something that we haven't done in a long time? Hug someone.
We can? Oh my gosh.
I just have a slight head cold, but don't worry.
I would welcome a head cold. Guys, I am so honored to be here. I don't know how I got to be this person, but I want to thank all of you guys for keeping all of us outside 1A, like tethered to reality for the last year and a half. Every milestone that you guys, when you guys came back together, these were such like uplifting moments of optimism for the rest of us. So thank you, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
That's so sweet.
Were we on your pandemic bucket list after it was over to come?
Yes, 100%.
Well, you were on ours.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much to talk to you about, but because we actually celebrated your 50th birthday together on Zoom.
Yes, I remember, and you guys gave me golden double stuffed Oreos.
I know, we're good like that. I mean, but now you have a big entrance. It's even better. What's the last year been like for you? What does it feel like is to get back to normal?
Yeah, it feels great to be here. You know, we were lucky enough that we were able to work. NBC Universal took really good care of us and our crew, and so we were able to make Girls 5 Eva and to finish the season of Mr. Mayor during the pandemic. And it is, you know, to be able to be around other people and make things has been a great blessing for all of us.
I mean, this show made it, we feel like it's like the Ted Lasso for girls. Like, it's so much fun to watch. We loved it. But I was just thinking, you created this thing during the pandemic. Yeah. Now you've got Emmy buzz. Now you're renewed for season 2.
Yesterday morning, yes, Girls 5 Eva will be back for season 2. Yes. So all the more reason to check out season 1 on Peacock now. My friend Meredith Scardino is the creator of the show, and she is just one of the funniest people
Did you
ever.
know, did you think we got, this is gold right here. We have something going.
Yeah, I knew that Meredith was a joke machine. Yeah. And then once we were able to get this cast, Sarah Bareilles and Renee Elise Goldsberry, Busy Phillips, Paula Pell, you feel like you know when something is very juicy.
Well, the cast is so magical. I mean, they really mix. And I mean, it's the music, it's the funny writing, it's all of it together. But I mean, you have folks like Sarah Bareilles said she was super nervous because she's a great singer. She hadn't really thought about being an actress or a comedic actress.
Yes, I had seen Sarah in Waitress on Broadway, and I was like, oh, she's a wonderful actress. And I had seen her be really funny hosting the Tony Awards and stuff. And I was like, I think, and also I just really like casting. I like finding people, and so once we got her, and she's fantastic. She's an absolute natural.
Well, the music is the other star of the show. I'm sorry. Those songs, I was literally almost peeing my pants listening to some of them. Who came up with all those songs?
Thank you for asking. The music is, you know, my husband, Jeff Richmond, writes pretty much all the music for the show, with the exception of a song. And Meredith Scardino, I would say, wrote the bulk of the lyrics along with the writers of the show.
Can we play the Tiny Butt song?
Please.
It's so funny. Hold on. I think we have a teeny clip.
A tiny clip of Tiny Butts.
You're part of Girls 5 Eva, right? Yeah. I remember you. You had that song on the soundtrack of Blue Crush.
We had TBF.
TBF, Tiny Butts Forever, $2 silver pancakes and jeans. This will be what people like forever. TBF, Tiny Butts and jeans.
Tiny Butts and jeans. I mean, right on.
I think Meredith is great at nailing those kind of jokes where it's calling out like things from the 90s where you're like, that's crazy. And the idea that, we're going to like Tiny Butts forever. And then Jeff makes the songs sound really good and the women sing really well. So you have the earworm plus the jokes.
That's the kind of the humor of it. It's like it actually sounds really good, and then you listen to the words and you're like, that is ridiculous.
Wait, you know what I was just thinking in the second? What if we had like a Girls 5 Eva Today Show concert?
Let's do it today.
No, but could we? Outside. We have a summer concert series.
Yes.
Could you imagine that? Because, by the way, those girls can sing off the hook together. That harmony is
They
great.
sound great together.
There's another rising star in the show.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Penelope Richmond.
Yes.
Do you know her?
I do know her. I live with her.
You gave birth to her.
I gave birth to her, and I will be cooking her vegetarian chicken nuggets later. Our daughter, Penelope, ended up being in the show. There was a part for a 9-year-old, and I was like, if we don't let her audition for this, she's going to kill us.
But you didn't give her the part.
No. Well, she auditioned. She put herself on tape, and then, Meredith was like, should we give her the part? And I was like, no, you can't. I can't let, the boss's kid get the first job they ever auditioned for. But she's like, but she did really well. So we hired another kid, and then because of the pandemic, the kid was out of state and couldn't come in, and I was like, Penelope, you're up. And she did a great job, and she was super professional. And for like a kind of a grim year of like distance learning, all that stuff, it was a little treat for her. It is funny when you have your first kid, you're like, oh, absolutely not, you're so strict. And then your second kid, you're like, what do you want?
Exactly.
You want to get a tattoo? Let's do it.
Exactly.
Wait, were you super nervous too?
I know the whole crew forever. It's like the crew's been with us since 30 Rock, and so I felt like no matter what, it would be okay. But I was very, very proud of her because, it's one of those moments where you're like, you brought all your manners today. Like, that's the main thing, right? As a parent, and I'm like, your manners were lovely.
Exactly. Please don't pick your nose. That's all we're asking.
No, she would never.
Now, there's a cameo from one Carson Daly, but it's a vocal cameo. How did this come about?
I've been trying to slow play Carson onto the show. Now that we know there's a season 2, don't think I won't be back, Carson.
Let's go.
It was the middle of the pandemic. We didn't want to bother you too much. At first we were casting a lookalike because we had these flashbacks to old music videos and old TRL, and it was cracking me up because we were trying to cast a Carson Daly look-alike, sound-alike, and my husband was like, every guy, we were like, what about this guy? And he was like, no, Carson has piercing blue eyes. I was like, all right, buddy. But I think it's because he has blue eyes, too, and he knows they're, like, the most valuable weapon. And so we ended up begging Carson to voice over. So, because honestly, Carson, you're iconic, and it doesn't work. If it's
I wanted to do it in person, actually, but with the pandemic, it was like impossible.
It was madness. I think you were doing the voice.
But that's why we've got season 2. All right, let's talk about your other show, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to roll a clip, and then let's talk about it.
Okay, great.
Hey, Tommy, how much do we spend to take care of the city's palm tree?
$50 million a year, sir.
50? You have any idea how many miles of bus lane I could buy with that? A bunch, I'll bet.
Sir, I have been trying to call attention to this topic for years. Palm trees are not even supposed to be here. Most of them were planted for the 1932 Olympics to trick people into thinking LA wasn't a waterless scorpion graveyard.
So palm trees are expensive, dangerous, and they shouldn't be here in the first place.
Like an NFL franchise, sir.
Holly Hunter, Ted Danson, this is incredible, and you're writing season 2 right now?
Yeah, we're writing season 2 right now. Season 1 also available on Peacock, though, if you want to check it out. And it's, Ted Danson, Holly Hunter, Bella Lavelle, Mike Cavalon, and our own beloved Bobby Moynihan from SNL. And they are just also a dream cast.
Well, Tina, thank you.
Hi, today in 30, you're about to see my interview with one of my new favorite moms, Lin-Manuel Miranda's mom. Now, because you're special, one thing you won't see, can I tell you, back when Lin was younger, he made a pact with his mom that he would one day win an Oscar. And it was the time when Whoopi Goldberg actually hosted the awards, and she looked at the audience and she said, you at home, you could be here too. They made a pact, and you know what? It actually happened. Are we ready to see the spot now, Al?
Yes.
All right, roll it. What was it like then to sit in the theater when you know that it was, Lin's baby, if you will, and then to see it all come together? What does that feel like as a mom?
A dream come true, and it was just amazing how it came together. And my husband was instrumental in making that happen. He was hugely supportive once he was on board.
How important is that?
It always worries me when I see children being torn down by their parents. My thought is always, if your own parents can't really build you up and support you and acknowledge what an amazing individual you are, who's going to do it?
So take me back to those early days. So you were a working mom, your husband was working. How did you do it?
So we both worked at any given time. As my son, you'll hear him say often, I never known that my parents didn't have more than one job. I'm very fortunate in that Luis and I really tag team and shared, depending on what was on our plates at any given time. One or the other of us would assume a more responsibility.
You know, I also think it's been really important that Lynn has been very open about the fact that he struggled with anxiety as a kid. And I know he's talked about the fact that there was a childhood friend who tragically passed away, and that affected him deeply. Did you see that as a mom, and how did you support him?
Every night, I would tuck him into bed, and I would ask him what was the best thing that happened in school, what was the worst thing that happened in school. And depending on how he was feeling and if he was having any difficulty falling asleep, I would talk him through some relaxation exercises and breathing exercises to get him to sleep. So I basically tucked him into bed every night. Despite having worked all those jobs, that was one thing I never missed with either of my children.
Clearly, music is innate. It's in your family. Talk about your love of music, and your husband, too.
Right. Well, my husband and I both loved soundtracks. So as the children were growing up, we played our favorite records, whether or not we had seen, like I never saw Camelot, but I loved the score. And one of the cardinal rules in our house is our children don't leave until they know how to dance.
That's amazing. I saw this video of Lynn, I don't know when it was, and he was dancing.
Yes. Since we were busy often, he basically was free to create whatever he wanted. And he was constantly using a video machine or a tape recorder. And he made up a Cabbage Patch song to it. The Cabbage Patch are, and I forget the lyrics, but he basically started composing just, off the head from the time he was very tiny.
Let me ask you about Hamilton. When you first heard the idea, what were your initial thoughts?
I have to tell you, the first time I saw a run-through of it, I was so bereft by the end of the play that I couldn't speak for half an hour. He had done such an amazing job that it broke my heart that Alexander Hamilton had died young.
Do you ever have moments of awe?
My first huge moment of awe was when he got the MacArthur Genius Award. I was like, oh my God! And they've only continued since then. But bringing Hamilton to the White House is very special.
Last time.
And having them sing One Last Time in front of the Obamas in their last year was just incredibly moving.
What would you say to the mom or dad or parent, aunt, uncle, grandmother, whoever is raising a child, when they feel like they're in the thick of it and things are so busy that it may feel like it's spinning out of control, but they love hard and they're as present as they can be? What would you say?
Well, I often told families struggling with children's issues, since I'm a psychologist, you got to do the best you can now, because if you don't, they won't grow up and leave you. They'll stay with you. You have to support them, because the goal is to get them to be able to be independent, fulfilled adults.
So this is just a snippet of a much longer conversation, but she is so fascinating. And we were just talking off camera. You see how early sometimes talent can start to bloom. And he's dancing by himself and writing musicals. And now we have Hamilton and The Heights and what have you. So I'm hoping, that this is something that we can all watch it as parents and say, you know what? Let's kind of pour into our children. I should mention, yesterday, Lin-Manuel Miranda addressed some criticism of his new movie, In the Heights, by those who say there wasn't enough Afro-Latino representation. And he owned up to it. He said he's listening, he's promising to do better in the future. And I have to say, I've watched all of this, and after talking with his mom, and there's a part, you'll see in the full interview about how thoughtful he is, he takes these conversations to heart, like by responding, you know what, I'm listening. Trust me, there will be more conversations in the months and weeks ahead. So if you want to hear the longer conversation, it is worth it. Just go to today.com. She has a lot to share.
That's really cool. Yeah, really enjoyed it. As we've been telling you, this is a big and important morning for our dear friend Craig. A deeply personal new book that he's written, Pops, is out today.
Yeah, as you guys know, I've been holding on to this story for a long time about my father's struggles, but ultimately his resiliency. So in honor of the book, I invited two of the best dads I know, Al and Carson, out to the house to have a candid chat about all things fatherhood. As an anchor and correspondent, I've delivered the news from studio, chased stories across the globe. But today I'm sharing my own story.
I think the average person, when they think of Craig Melvin, they think this is a guy that's never had a bad day in his life. This is a guy with like a star wattage smile, beautiful family, success. What has the reaction been from people who thought that they knew you and didn't realize you have this story to tell?
I think the reaction is akin to what you just said. I don't think there are a lot of people that really know me, and that's not a good thing, probably. That story in my new book, Pops, is about my father's battle with addiction and how it affected our family. My dad, Lawrence, worked the overnight shift at the post office, and when he wasn't working, he drank. This went on for decades. In 2018, we staged an intervention, and my father went to rehab. I'll never forget my first visit there. I see my dad, and he gives me this big hug. And we're not big huggers. We're not a hugging family. It's like, oh, Dad's hugging. And he gives me this hug. I'm crying. He's crying. He gives me this letter that he's written. 40 years, my dad's never written me a letter, but he's written me this letter. And we sat and we had breakfast, and it was just like, it's one of those, like, I know on my deathbed, I'll remember that day. And in that moment, like, I knew it had worked. The book wasn't something I wanted to write. It's more like I needed to write it.
What does it feel like to get it? It's out there now. People are reading about it.
I've never been more nervous or frightened or scared or anxious.
Don't you feel relieved?
No.
That's not a
I don't think I do relief.
Wow.
I was relieved. Scott said, I was relieved when my dad read it.
Right.
And my dad signed off on it. And I was like, okay. Halfway through, I realized I wasn't writing this book for like strangers. I was writing it for me. I wrote it for my dad. I wrote it for my kids. Our family's story is one of struggle, but also faith and resilience. We never quit on my dad, and now he's an engaged father and quite the doting grandfather. I can remember it was dinner time when we were growing up. It's important for dads to get together, compare notes. I'm lucky to count two great fathers from work among my friends. We all come from different upbringings and are all trying to be the best fathers we can be.
I think good fathers don't come in the same size packaging that we all grew up thinking it did. But in the overall grand scheme of our lives and what we think of our fathers, better late than never is as good as anything you're going to get.
I was really fortunate. My dad, if I really look at it, my dad was more the nurturer than my mother was.
Really?
My mother was, loving and all that. My dad was, again, a hugger, a kisser. I didn't know that men weren't supposed to kiss until I'd go to some family reunions, and I'd go to my Uncle Champ. Hey, Uncle Champ. Whoa, hey, how you doing?
Meanwhile, we hug and kiss. Of course, you're probably the same way. I know you are. Hug and kiss the kids all the time.
Every second I get.
Yeah, all the time.
Every second.
Coming up to this Father's Day, how is it different?
I've developed more of an appreciation for everything than I had before the pandemic, especially like being a father, because we all got more time with our kids over the past year.
I felt guilty. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Because people were out of work, people were dying.
Yes.
But I was like, I sort of love this. I get my kids all day.
We all agree that time slips by too fast.
In the period of 2 weeks, I had a daughter graduate from college and another one get married. And it's a cliche, but it goes by like that.
Right.
I mean, literally, Courtney was in middle school.
Yesterday.
And then it was high school yesterday. And then, boom, she's now a married woman. My middle girl is a college graduate. Nick's going to be a senior in high school this fall.
You're going to be an empty nester.
I'm going to be
when we do this next year, you'll be an empty nester.
Absolutely.
And I'm sad about it. I mean, as much as, I think...
Come over to my house and watch my kids.
I'd love to. I would love. If they would put it up, bring them over to Uncle Al.
A couple years from now, we're doing this. Be Grandpa Al.
Oh, yeah.
And if
that might happen sooner than that.
And if there's a kid who's like lucky to have a grandpa,
oh gosh,
the Al Roker grandson or granddaughter or both.
Yep.
My God.
Well, that's the greatest revenge on your kid. Is that anything that I'm going to break everything. Hey, here's a 5-pound bag of Domino sugar and a big spoon.
Go nuts.
By the way, I've just noticed sitting here, I've never seen it. You've got gray at your temples.
You shut the hell up.
You got gray at your... At least you got temples.
No, I do have gray. It's happened.
It's funny. Like in the last year.
No, it's happened in the last year. Thank you, Al.
Welcome to it.
Thank you. This is over. We're done.
You can wash that gray right out, too.
Oh, so good,
for gray.
Yeah, well, I try to cut it up before we come on air, but of course Roker noticed it. Of course
he does.
And in the moment, mind you, it's like great.
But I will tell you that you're going to help a lot of people with this book. It's going to, I think, start a lot of conversations.
That's the goal.
And I'm just really proud of it.
Big show tomorrow on Today in 30, including an exclusive performance from Bruce Springsteen and the Killers.
Can you believe that?
How good is that?
It's going to be great. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Today.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.